Well, as editor of the Money and Property sections, I deal with an awful lot of people every day who have very, very low credibility with the public. And that is in alphabetical orders, bankers, developers, estate agents, insurance companies, and none of them rank very highly with the public. But lowest of all in the minds of Times readers are energy companies. I have got so that if one of my colleagues comes to tell me, as they did last month, that another energy company had sent a debt collector to the home of a customer who didn't owe them a penny and forcibly tried to seize this man's goods for a debt that he didn't owe, I barely batted an eyelid. I just said, have we got some decent pictures of him, and is the baby quite pretty? I had no surprise whatsoever at the behaviour of this company, because it is exactly borne out in the unhappy letters that we get from our readers about energy companies. So why is it? And I just wonder if it isn't that this industry has some of the worst customer service going. The billing is opaque. Whoever could understand a fuel bill? And also, to err is human, to forgive divine. For you've got to have a great customer services facility that helps people understand why they're paying what they're paying.
I mean, I think the principal thing here is clearly trust, and that's what really shocks me, I think, is when you see, and it's not actually in this report, but it's something that was done by YouGov in a recent report where they put, they're worse than bankers, and it's not just the Times. It's been borne out by other, seen as worse than bankers. It's been, it's borne out by other surveys. And the problem with I do buildings, and I want us to tackle one of the worst thermally performing, oldest housing stocks in the country that we have in Britain. And much as I like to look at them, they're pretty ropey to live in. And the way we get around that is by having some of the biggest energy bills in the country. So we are just heating the planet. 27% of energy consumption a few years ago was from houses. We need to deal with that. And part of the reason that no one knows what to do to their house, is it the cavity or is it the boiler, is because there's 27 million different properties, and there's probably 27 million almost different projects that we need to undertake to improve the housing stock. I think one of the things that we need to also do is tackle the concept of why we want to save energy. Clearly, the reality is that the energy bill is quite low. The reality is that in order to get proper, meaningful energy reductions, we need to invest between, and there's many people say a different figure, but around £40,000 to £60,000 per household to get sort of 80–90% CO2 reductions. The payback on that is vast, okay? It's massive. What we need to do is try and shift the debate and actually not necessarily try and sell energy saving, because that's very abstract. And we try and sell low energy buildings to people. We do architecture, and we have sort of moved away from trying to persuade them that your small bill is going to be great, because actually it costs a lot to get a small bill. What we now focus on is to do with quality of space. That a house that isn't losing energy is a better house to live in. It is more comfortable, it's better for your health, and down the line comes the idea of energy saving.
And I think while people feel badly and mistrust their energy companies, then it's very difficult for their energy companies or anyone else to engage them in any kind of change. So it's really important, and in everyone's interest, to fix that. For no one to be feeling great about how much people hate him, because they don't actually, they just don't like what happens with their energy bills. I think we need to work together to improve the image of energy companies, to get the truth out there, and then to fix the things that are still wrong, even when the truth is known, and to separate those two very clearly. And if you want people to do something different, I think the three things that you really have to do. One is to say what exactly it is you would like them to do. What are the means by which they will reduce their energy consumption, reduce their bills? And a lot of information about that out there. How much of it is actually inside people's heads in a way that makes a difference? The second thing you have to do is give them a motive. Given that they know what to do, why should they do it? And I agree with Charlie, money always comes up top of the reasons that people give, but what is actually making the difference? And quality of life, quality of the indoor environment is important, simplicity, safety, the convenience of changing your boiler when you decide to, not when it happens to break down. There are many motives that can be engaged that have absolutely nothing to do with energy. For many people, energy will never be interesting, but you can engage them through other things that are interesting to do things that coincidentally reduce their energy demand. And the third thing you have to do is make sure they have the resources. And that's not just money, it's time. Time even to spend 10 seconds thinking about it. And also the space. Some things require space. How is that going to be achieved? Or space is affected, like filling your loft with insulation so you can't dump rubbish in it anymore. So and I call this means, motive and opportunity. You have to have the means to do it, the motive to do it, and the opportunity to do it.
I just think that what it is that you say that people see bills. I wonder if the direct debit payment has so removed people from what they're paying and for how much they're paying, what the tariff is that breeds in itself resentment, even though they see that you getting your money very easily and they not actually understanding what they're paying for. And so any explanations that you give, however lucid they may be, I wonder if they're actually passing people by, that they aren't receiving them.
We're not without blame in this, and there are things that we can do, and we want to do them. We'll put right the sins of the past, and we'll try and move forward. But I think that firmly is there. But I don't think it's for me in a platform like this, not to try and have a positive public debate about what we can do, and I try and let other people make their minds up about how much responsibility politicians and regulators have, because me just whinging on about them isn't going to help the situation terribly. I would agree that they have their part to play, and I would encourage them to have consistent views going forward. This is a very long-term industry. If you don't have that political accord that you referred to, if you're making 20, 30, 40-year investment decisions, you need a bit of certainty. And that actually might be a good reason for doing the large contract with the French government, because at least they took a firm decision, guaranteed them a price. We should most likely get a couple of big nuclear reactors at Hinkley, and we should pay whatever the price is for them.
We even begin to understand the differences in language. I mean, when we talk about energy efficiency, I think we mean that for the same amount of energy you get more benefit, or you use less energy and you get the same benefit. I think in my experience of a lot of consumers, when you talk to them about efficiency, that's not what they're talking about at all. They're talking more about convenience. When they say it's more efficient to leave your heating on all day, even when you're not there, what they're talking about is convenience. It's more efficient because I don't have to warm the house up again when I come home. Not saying it uses less energy. It's a completely different language, and I think there's a lot to overcome in there. But it comes down to understanding what matters to consumers, what motivates them, what are the needs that they are meeting. Then we can have a debate that includes them. The debate between suppliers and Ofgem and government, well, maybe it's better that a lot of that does happen behind closed doors, so they can be totally frank with each other. But at some point, I think it does have to be drawn out into public. Otherwise, I think, as has been said earlier, that the energy companies will be accused of not being sufficiently aggressive with the regulator to try to change things. And I suspect that actually, if I were a fly on the wall in meetings between senior executives of energy companies and senior executives of Ofgem, there'd be some quite strong views put across in both directions. But we just don't know, and maybe it's not right that we know all of it. But I think we need to understand who is standing up to whom, who is pushing for what, so that the debate, even if it doesn't necessarily all happen in public, is at least publicly accessible.
I cannot see that the fog can clear. While politicians see energy companies as such a convenient way to garner extra taxation, while people extend their resentment of the energy companies to their resentment of it means they feel so resentful about energy companies that they feel resentful about saving. And meanwhile, we have one political party whose main platform seems to be that we will stop energy companies charging you so much, which seems to be, you know, their whole policy.
But I also think there's a fundamental problem, which was touched upon by us about changing government policy. That we're talking about such long-scale decision-making and planning that needs to be done. You can't have it changing on a 3-year political cycle, 4-year political cycle as it is now. So it's just never. We're never going to grow up and get a properly kind of together energy industry on those scales. Cameron to be the greenest government ever to let's cut this green crap. Ed Miliband to doing what he did in Energy Secretary to we're gonna cap, you know, energy bills going up for 2 years. I mean, it's just completely incoherent. So the political leadership is completely incoherent, and it's no surprise then that the energy companies, you know, are slightly spinning. I'm sure they're not innocent. I don't think they are, but you know, not surprising that they're spinning as well. Until there is very clear policy, and I think they have a much simplified role, we're not going to get a true kind of relationship between consumer and energy supplier.
So my question to you, along with the other ones that you might mention as we close, is what gives you hope that what you're doing here tonight, or that what you can do as a company, is actually going to succeed?
What gives me hope? The fact that I've got a staff of 19,000 people, many of whom, and I saw a bunch of them today, who, you know, work through the storms and go out there and do things day in, day out, working for customers, doing things. I've got to keep a positive face on what we do and what we and how we represent them. You know, my staff are very, very important to me. I think we do a very important job. We may not do everything we can on social deprivation, but we do a lot of things as a company. I think, you know, morally, ethically, we try and do the right things. We try and put ourselves in the right place, and that motivates us. I think we get a lot of successful outcomes. So, you know, this is just a part of that journey. And you know, appreciate the work that your company's done, panelists here, and everybody else for their contributions this evening. Thank you.